Hi everyone, my name is Paul Carville. I'm a solution engineer with Aviatrix, and today I'd like to take you through CoPilot from the point of view of a network operator who's in charge of ensuring that the multi-cloud network remains available at all times to both internal and external customers. Let's start here with the main screen of CoPilot, and one of the most important elements here is the dashboard. I'm just going to zoom in on this part here. This is the equivalent of a red light, green light system for the network operator. From here I can see at a glance the status of the Aviatrix gateways, whether they're up or down, if they have any problems, and also of the connection status of any of the links between our different gateways. So as you said here, we have our gateways, connections, also any internal or external BGP connections we might have, external connections which we call site to cloud, which are IPsec connections to third parties. I can see the status of all of these in one place on the dashboard. So this is very, very powerful. Now going a step deeper into this, we also have our topology view. And let me just reset some of the filters that we had going on here. And I want to explain exactly what this view is, because it's a very, very powerful view of the entire multi-cloud network. In order to do that, I'm just going to collapse this down and zoom in a little bit. And what I'm going to explain each one of these elements on the screen and why it's important for the network operator. Each one of these circles is a VPC that happens to be in a particular CSP region. Along the outside of these pizza pies, pizza slices, we have different CSPs in different regions. And if I hover over those, as you can see here, we can see that this is the US East 1. This is GCP, this is Azure, this is GCP, this is OCI, and this is an on-premises location. In each one of these CSP regions, I have spoke gateways along the outside of this circle, and I got transit gateways along the middle. So my transit gateways are the infrastructure that connects different CSP regions to each other. And this is normally a full mesh of connectivity. And as we can see, each one of these links here, I can see that they're green. If there was any problem with those, they would be red. Moving on to the outer circle, these are our spoke connections. These are where the workloads reside. Any sort of cloud-based workload application would live inside these spoke VPCs. We also have an Aviatrix gateway which provides connectivity obviously to the rest of the network. That connectivity is spoke to transit, and of course if this spoke wanted to speak to a spoke in another region, it would traverse the network in such a way. Once again, I can see that the connections between spoke and transit are green, so this means that they are available. Now if I click on one of these links, I can also get a view very quickly of the latency between those two connections. So I can see if there was any fluctuation over the recent past. If I expand these out at any point, I get a little bit of insight into what's happening inside this VPC. So for example, I'm just expanding this spoke gateway VPC in GCP. And from here, I can see that there is an Aviatrix gateway inside that spoke. And I can also see that there's a VM inside that spoke. Now, this VM has nothing to do with Aviatrix, but there is a lot of information I can glean from CoPilot on this particular VM. So for example, if I go across to the metadata side, this is all information that CoPilot has pulled from the GCP API to give us some more information on this particular VM. So for example, I can see that this VM, I can see the type of compute instance that is running. I can see the internal private IP address. I can see it's of type VM. And I can get a number of other information on this gateway. So from a reconnaissance point of view, I can get a lot of information on the entire cloud estate. Now let's take a real world use case where I have got a developer who's calling to say that he has got a problem with one of his workloads. Connectivity problem, traffic problem. Basically, he sees that there's some unusual behavior on that network connection. So what we could see here, like I said from the beginning, first place I go as a network operator, I double check that my infrastructure is fine. I check that my connections are fine as well. I would go to my topology and I would have a quick look around to make sure that all the connections are green and everything looks good. So this is like the first check I would do. Then I would ask the developer what VM he is worried about at this particular point in time. And he's telling me it's one of the accounting VMs, if I could spell that correctly. So I can see here from an accounting perspective, they are mostly in AWS. So I can see there's a number of machines with accounting in the metadata. It's an app. So I'm going to zoom that in a little bit further. And I can see that I've got 3 different environments for that app. So I've got a dev environment, a prod, or QA. So at this stage, it'd be important to check with the developer which one of these apps he has a problem with. Now, if they confirm, for example, that it's the dev app, if I click on this, I can get, like I said, quite a bit more information on this device. Now, what I would do from here is I would just pull this private IP address, because this is the private IP address of the VM that the developer is telling me that there's some problems with. And one of the first things I'd like to check is there any traffic coming from this VM, or is there any traffic going to this VM? So I'm going to go across here to the monitor section. I'm going to go to Flow IQ. I'm just going to clear this filter here that I had in before. Flow IQ is the NetFlow repository, part of CoPilot, where we get all of the NetFlow data from the entire network. And I'm just going to put in this particular instance. Just make sure I don't have a space preceding. And by default, if I put in just the IP address, it's going to default to the source IP or destination IP. So I want to see if this particular VM is sourcing data or is receiving data. So I'm going to just apply this real quick. And immediately I get a type of dashboard. Now this is a lot of information, but what is important to me is to go to the records. And what I can see for the 10.1.2.10 machine, I can see that it is the source for certain traffic. I can also see that it's the destination for certain traffic. For this point in time, I can see according to flow records, there is bidirectional flow. Now I can see that for the last 60 minutes. Now I could go to a custom, and if the developer is telling me it's only since the last 15 minutes that he has this problem, I could go to, for example, at 1:50 today, which is about 20 minutes ago. I'm going to apply this, and I'm going to get a more recent set of data. And what's important here to check is the timestamp. So it's 2:08, and my local time is 2:08 as well. So I can see that there is bidirectional flow for this particular machine. I can go a step further, and I could look at the actual flows again for this filter that's in place. And I can see that there is flows going, if I just hover over here, between 10.1.2.10, which is my VM in question, and an external address of 10.99.240. So I see that there is a bidirectional flow there, and I can get all sorts of information on the different flows concerning either source IP address or destination IP address of the VM in question. So this has answered a very, very important question for me as the network operator. I can see that there has been in the past 15 minutes, in any case, bidirectional traffic flow from this VM in question. So I can tell that from a network routing perspective, for instance, that is working fine. Now we could stop there, but we can actually go a step further. So I'm just going to go back to the topology. I'm going to clear the filter that I had in place before. And I do want to zoom into the VM in question. So I'm going to go to AWS. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to accounting. And it was the dev spoke. So I want to expand this one. And of course, this is again my VM that I had in question, that I was investigating the challenge with. And I've got 2 machines in here. I've got 2 Aviatrix gateways. One is a PSF gateway, which does not handle data flow traffic. It's more for ingress monitoring. But what I'm interested in is this device here, the accounting AWS spoke gateway. And what I want to check is, in real time, right now, am I receiving traffic from that VM through this spoke gateway? So I'm going to go to the tools, gateway diagnostics, and I'm going to go to the packet capture. Now this is running a real-time packet capture on this spoke gateway. So this is the gateway which is sitting in the VPC where my VM is concerned. This is as close as it gets to the application. So if I run this, I should see in a few seconds a number of flows which are showing up. Now again, this shows that my gateway is receiving traffic, and what I'd like to put in here is the 10.1.2.10 filter, which was my VM in question, and I can see that in real time I have got traffic. I'm going to stop this real quick, and this is telling me that I do have traffic right now going from that VM. So I could download it, though this is a PCAP file, and I could investigate further if I needed to, but again, I've answered a very, very important question. That question is this VM currently receiving traffic and sending traffic? And I can see that there's bidirectional traffic flow here in this particular case. Now we could leave it there, but again, we can still go a step further. So the developer might be telling us that there is connectivity, but it's running really slow. So again, I'd like to take this particular gateway. This is the Aviatrix gateway. I'm just going to take a copy of that, and I'm going to move down here to performance. And I'm just going to clear any filters that I had before. And what I'd like to do is for this particular filter, this particular Aviatrix gateway, which is the one in question where the VM is connected to, I would like to see if that gateway has any telemetry problems, any capacity problems, dropping packets. So I can be very granular in what I want to choose here as a metric to check, but I'm going to just be, select everything. I'm going to show the maximum, not the averages. I want to see where are we maxing out, and I'm going to apply this real quick. And what I'm looking for here is anomalies. I'm looking for something that's changed. So I'm going to do this for the past, let's say, 60 minutes. Let me just refresh that. And I want to see, so I've got some processes running, but again, that's not really an anomaly. And I'm going to scroll through this really, have a quick look. This will tell me if I'm running out of memory, running out of CPU, a lot of things to do with the gateway itself, running out of disk. And as I move down, we're going to get to the point where it's more the network related stuff. So I've got received rate, total rate. There's a lot of telemetry. Now you can order these in a more convenient way, but I just want to show you the vast array of metrics that we actually pull in. And again, I'm looking for anomalies. I'm looking for something that might have bursted over the past 60 minutes that might be causing the developer some issues. So I'm just going to scroll down here quickly, and I don't see any anomalies on this. I can see that the packets per second, went up over the past 3 minutes, but again, it's 50 packets per second. That's not an issue. There's a few of these become very, very important. We also look at egress limits, contract limits as well in the Linux subsystem, any packet drops we might have had, all sorts of telemetry. But again, what I'm looking at here from a network operator perspective is I'm looking for anomalies, things that have varied over the past period of time. So again, this is quite interesting, but it is telling me now that this particular spoke gateway is not under any capacity issues, any load issues. So again, this is very, very important information as a network operator. Now what I can do is I can also have a look at the traffic, generally speaking, on this gateway, and I'm going to filter for that same gateway again. Now let's go in. I should have that one. I'm going to click on that. And again, I want to look over the past 60 minutes, and it's not a lot of total traffic, for the past 60 minutes that's gone through this gateway. It's a very, very consistent pattern. So again, there's no anomalies here. So in a very short period of time, from a network operator's perspective, we have managed to check the network infrastructure, check that the VM has received traffic, is sending traffic. We've checked that for real time. We've checked the status of the network infrastructure, that the infrastructure itself is not under any undue load. And we can communicate all this back to the developer so they can take remediative action, perhaps at the application layer. And the whole objective of going through this exercise with you is explaining that before application owners start to troubleshoot their own application, we almost need to prove that it's not the network infrastructure. It's this meantime innocence. And the Aviatrix CoPilot platform can give you this meantime to innocence much, much faster than scrolling through cloud native consoles, looking at V1 output on the portal, looking at TGW output on the portal. We can see the entire multi-cloud network infrastructure all in one place. And that is a very, very, very powerful value proposition for network operators. So I hope you enjoyed this session. I'll be doing some further sessions on proactive alerting and other such features in CoPilot. As for now, thank you very much.